Hey everyone, welcome to the Thunk Tank podcast. Thanks for downloading. If you're a new listener and you're wondering what the hell a Thunk Tank is, it's a think tank filled with enough craft beer to become thunky. I don't know, we're just making this up as we go. I'm Luke, musician, and I'm a trumpet player and teacher. Joe is our other co-host. He is a writing professor, and then we have Johnny, who's a home brewer. He works at breweries, and he's also a genie. So if you're not sure what that means, just listen to enough episodes and it will start to make sense. I'm pretty sure towards the end of this episode, Johnny's wife, Kara, also came on and joined us. We've all flown a lot and have a lot of funny stories. The topic for this episode was airlines, airports, airplanes. If you came here to learn about aerodynamics of lift and Bernoulli's principle and fluid dynamics, you have 100% come to the wrong place. But if you've come to get into the complicated issues of obese people taking up half your seat on the airplane and what to do about that, that's kind of the issues we get into. Taking a big rusty dump on the airplane while you're 30,000 feet in the air. That's the kind of thing we talk about while drinking some beer. Let's see. Other funny stories. I think if you listen all the way to the end, I just edited it together. We got to this amazing invention. I won't spoil the details, but you'll want to listen to the end. It's a piece of clothing that you can wear while on a long flight. So I won't tell you exactly what it is, but the name we came up with is called the cockpit. So I'll let your imagination take it from there. Lastly, if you do enjoy what we're doing, consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a link to that in the episode description, patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. Basically, for as little as $1 an episode, which ends up being like $3 to $4 a month, you can help us raise some money while we do this thing. It does take time to edit and record these, and you can just help us upgrade equipment little as we go. Go ahead and listen to an early episode and compare it to the audio quality now. It's significantly better thanks to the Patreon donations. And then also as a reward for that, you can listen to exclusive content. We record extra episodes once in a while when we're really drunk, and we call them the drunk tanks, and you'll get a private link that goes to a separate RSS feed for that. So consider that. Either way, we greatly appreciate you listening and potentially supporting us. Share it with people who you think might like it, and I will see you in the airplane Thunk Tank.
Attention humans, this is a Thunk Tank. Please insert this podcast directly into your nearest orifice for viewing pleasure.
Okay, you ready? Oh, shit.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Welcome to the Thunk Tank.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Welcome. Come into our Thunk Tank.
Luke, don't switch to the other peanuts.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking, and we're drinking,
and we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point. I'm gonna keep rambling.
And we're going here.
I'm not gonna stop rambling.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank episode all about flying.
This is, I am so excited, guys.
This episode is brought to you by American Airlines.
Don't say that.
Right now,
you can't actually say.
You
can't
book
actually
travel
say
to
that.
any of your favorite locations.
No, AA.com is for if you have a problem drinking.
No, they're gonna sue you now. You can't make that up. That's false advertising.
Yeah, Luke, we have to start over.
No, it's called reverse
that's not
sponsorship. They don't know we're sponsoring them.
No,
it's illegal. It's not.
I don't
it's not
think
like
it's
a marketing
illegal to
tactic.
just tell people you should fly this airline.
No, that's not what you did. You said they're sponsoring us, which they aren't.
Yeah, you said that they're...
Okay. I see what I did.
That's actually a valid point. Yeah, you're saying that we're promising things that they don't know exist.
Not only that, I think there might be some extended family that might contribute to the cast that are members of American Airlines who might get in trouble.
Allegedly.
So let me rephrase
sponsor.
all of that.
This
This
is a
episode
comedy
is
podcast,
reverse
folks.
sponsored by American Airlines. What reverse sponsorship means is
Stop saying that they're sponsored.
they didn't
Yeah.
communicate with us at all, but we're going to go ahead and send you in their direction.
You know,
and you should go to AA.com and upon checkout, enter Thunk into the code box and receive 20% off your airline.
Oh my
Is
God.
you're thinking if we just plug it, eventually they'll say, maybe we should support them.
I bet somebody in corporate would go, "Hey, we're getting a lot of traffic due to the Thunk product code. We don't know what Thunk means."
None
but
of that is how.
There's a real
algorithms
buzz
work.
around this thunking thing. Though.
Yeah.
No, that's never going to happen.
Guys, I am so excited though because we are. If you're joining us for the first time, we are
Yeah.
such experts when it comes to airlines and planes and
Yeah, you're going to learn a lot this episode.
flying stuff. Oh my! I don't think you guys are ready. So you should crack.
Crack a cold one.
At least
even
a,
if you're
at least
driving.
a cold one. Nope, not that. But yeah, the rest of it, sure.
All right. So, Johnny, you just flew. I wanted
I've been flying a lot lately.
I wanted to
guess.
talk generally about flying.
Wait,
and
you
then,
have the flu?
No.
Oh, that's funny. And then also, it's kind of like a controversial topic, but I just wanted
Oh,
to
boy,
touch
here he
upon
goes.
it, like the obesity and flying thing. Because
Oh, we're starting right into that. Let's
I
do
actually
it.
looked at all the airline policies regarding that today.
Dude, you really do need an actual job.
I know. I've been telling the audience if they have any side jobs they need.
Please,
me
if
to
you
fill
have
my
any
time
work
with.
for him, even just busy work, filing work, something to keep his mind
You
occupied.
could get a mail gig in Minnesota, I think.
a mail gig.
Would you drive the truck with him?
In a frog suit.
Minnesota.
By the way, to Duluth Atheist, if you're listening, that
He's
frog
listening.
suit was worn by my fiance while cooking the other night.
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back on your anti-fat body shaming rant.
Yeah, where
I thought we might
continue.
arrive there at like minute 40. Like,
You opened with it though.
Yeah.
You came in hot. I was ready to tell
You
some
said-
plane stories.
you said you had to touch upon it and then immediately started ranting how, I happened to read every airline policy about it.
And then you went into you and your fiance's furry porn obsession. Just dial it in, bro. Pick one topic. They're all
Focus, Luke.
interesting topics, but let's just run with one.
all right. So what do you want to run with?
I want to know
Let's-
what you learned wasting your day.
Yeah, I want to hear about these policies because I've always wondered. Luke's referring to. I messaged him as I got on a plane because there was a very large family boarding, pre-boarding because they all had, they were all in wheelchairs.
Getting free pre-boarding because
Oh, here
they're
he
fat.
goes. Here he
Well,
goes.
yeah. Let me just give the context before we get your opinion.
No, before we
But
get
yeah,
his
I
raving.
did. I did notice that. Oh yeah, they are getting to board early, like before the military people. Like the infirm go on first, I think. And
Really?
I just had that thought because I knew it was a full flight. I was like, oh man, I really hope I don't get stuck next to them. That's the modern Russian roulette of traveling. Is if you get stuck next to somebody that is actively taking up, let's say more than 10% of your seat by spilling into it, and I got lucky. I got on the plane, and the guy was in the front of the plane. I was in the back, but he was in the aisle. His, I think, wife or sister, maybe they looked related, but
Wow.
was in the window. And then the guy in the middle was clearly not with them, and some skinny dude. And he just had his eyes closed with his head straight back, like trying to meditate his way through it. Like I could tell he's just trying to be like, okay, I got 6 hours of this. Just leave your
Oh,
body,
yeah.
let it
Long
happen.
flight.
And I was lucky.
Yeah.
The guy next to me was pretty tiny and kind of wormy looking.
Wait, but you were to that guy what those people were to the other guy.
Oh, most definitely. But I was in the aisle seat, and I tried to spill into the aisle and just keep an eye out
For the
the
cart?
cart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Or
cart
for
will
people
fuck you
going to
up.
the bathroom.
They almost do it on purpose. They're like go fuck yourself level.
I don't know,
of,
though.
like,
The guy next to me was weird. He had a fedora on and like a Rolex and then like jeans and a T-shirt. And he watched Fox News for 6 hours without his headphones, just on mute,
sounds
no
about
subtitles.
right, actually.
And it has subtitles.
No
and
subtitles.
Nothing. Just staring at
Interesting.
Fox News for like 6 hours, falling asleep now and then.
I do that.
He was real weird.
I watch
And when
movies on the plane with no sound.
The weirdest part was when I got up to let him get out of his aisle, he unplugged my headphones and then slid past.
What?
And when he came back, I was like, please don't touch my headphones. And he goes, oh, they were in the way.
Are you
I was
serious?
Like, yeah. And I said, I was like, let me know. Don't touch my stuff, please. And then he went, and
He
didn't really
used
say
your
anything.
headphones?
And
No,
no,
he
he
unplugged
because they were like in the armrest, the end of the armrest. But
Okay.
they were specifically, I brought my kind that I use for this, where it bends at a 90-degree angle.
Right.
Not
you don't have to
right
worry
now, but-
about the attachment point failing.
It's not. It doesn't have the cord shooting out that will snag on clothes. It's like a low clearance
Yeah,
one,
it's an accordion
specifically for flights that I bring. And it was just like, don't touch my fucking headphones.
Wait,
say
but why
say
did he have
something.
why did he have to unplug it? I don't understand.
I don't know. He flipped the armrest up so he could slide out, and then unplugged my headphones, and then got out. And it was just like, why are you even touching my armrest?
Yeah,
Like,
you should have choked him.
I almost did.
No, but
I was just so
being
lucky.
on a
I was
plane
just
requires you to be so calm. You have to be prepared to like have stress and be calm because otherwise you might freak out. Which
Escalate.
means all the rules of society are dialed up on a plane.
Yeah.
You can't freak out ever.
The rules are the same. The stakes are way higher.
That's true too. The stakes are.
It's just
so
like
high.
it's just like if you're on a military base versus if you're in a submarine. Like it's just there's a certain level of like you said, because things can only escalate so far. You're in a metal tube
You still are
with
in
a
the
bunch of
military,
strangers.
But you're in the military if you're in a submarine.
And like I had that thought on the flight. I was like, how crazy is it that one person can ruin everybody here's day, week? Who knows what their travel arrangements are involving? Vacations, family, weddings, funerals. Like one asshole can just lose it and like huck his beer can at the flight attendant. Now you're landing.
Yeah.
Now you're landing in Kansas, and the FBI is coming, and Homeland Security, and you're going to be sitting on the tarmac because you were a witness for hours and hours before you can even get back to traveling, which sucks to begin with. And it's crazy that shit doesn't happen more often.
Even good people, even like really shit people, like dirtbag people, they clean their act up when they're flying because you have to. Like if you're the same piece of shit that you would be on a train and you do that on a plane, that's not going to work.
Well, because for a train, they can just wait till the next station and a regular cop's there, or they push you out, or like nobody's and also nobody's ever hijacked a train and flew it into a building because it's kind of on a track.
Yeah,
so
it's exactly on a track.
You can only do so much taking it over.
Right. Yeah. You can derail it if you break into the front, but by then you would definitely get overpowered.
There's got to be some override.
But some asshole,
or they just turn it off.
But if some asshole
Kill
shits
the
out a
electric
stick
or something, yeah.
Like I'm sure there's a way to like remotely like
engage the
fry
but the problem is when they give the override remotely, then the remote override can be hacked. You know what I mean?
By who? Who's
I don't know. Some
CIA.
Russians.
Yeah. Luke, stop watching movies and get a job.
That's the two things I did today.
So what are the policies for the well endowed? That's not the phrase for the corpulent people.
Let me just also preface this with like, it became a funny topic that I was texting you guys about because I just flew recently. Johnny, we were flying on the same day actually.
That's right.
And like I sent you a funny picture of like that cart that travels around the airport that carries many
the
different
baggage car,
handicapped people, but including obese people, and it kind of just looked like a funny image to my mind, and I snapped a quick picture of it and sent it to you guys. And then you were sending a picture back to me about the people waiting at your gate saying, "Oh, I hope I'm not sitting next to so-and-so." So we were making a lot of jokes, and we started this idea of Luke Airlines, which would be an airline that clearly would never work because I'm weighing human beings like cattle when they check in.
Yeah, there's just, for somebody that's fed up with how the airlines treat you as a customer, there's a severe lack of humanity in Luke Air.
Yeah, so
the respect for the individual
but he
is...
decides. What aren't you getting about this, Johnny? He knows what's best.
Okay, Dragon Mother, go ahead.
But I have to say, like, I totally get the sympathy angle for overweight people. Like,
why you're going to charge them so much.
He's couching his horrible opinion as he usually does.
One of the things that makes me most sad, like when I am just like sitting on a park bench and I see a really overweight person struggling through their days, that makes me quite sad. It's not a lack of sympathy.
What are you doing on this park bench?
Like chilling,
not working,
I don't have a job,
researching airline. Yeah. Meanwhile, the fat guy who's worth $2 million is looking at him and being like, "What a fucking loafer! This guy's sitting here in the middle of the day. I retired at 33. And look at this idiot."
His fat shaming airline, and then he sees a fat person goes by and goes, "Huh, that's sad. I should charge them.
Yeah.
I should charge them 3 cents.
I should charge that guy. Actually. Yeah, 3 cents more per pound."
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, it's not a lack of sympathy thing. There's a whole mix of people that might find themselves obese, and some of them, no matter how
just have some guts. Give us your terrible opinion.
No matter how modestly they eat, they can't seem to shed pounds, and
there's different sources.
I have
of
nothing
obesity,
but heartbreak for those people, and
oh my god, this is so like one of those corporate
Councilman. Hold on, Councilman Luke's got to finish his
Christmas
speech.
bonus.
This is like 3 paragraphs of preface.
Yeah. All right, so how much are you charging per ounce?
So I'm really,
What are you charging?
I want the numbers.
I'm really sensitive to that aspect of it. But I am of a completely different mind.
Oh boy, here you
When
go.
I'm sitting on a plane for 4 hours going from New York to Dallas or whatever, let's just say that happened.
Because it only used to take 4 months. But, let's not inconvenience him on his golden throne through the sky for 4 hours. But go ahead.
If I paid for, and I mean, I didn't pay for this, so whatever. But, I mean, the company paid for my seat. They paid for a seat, not half a seat.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're complaining about something that you didn't pay for, but go on.
Yeah,
It's the most
I just want to be
privileged
open
bullshit
about
ever,
that. In this
Fair enough.
particular case, but I've also paid for flights to like London that I'm like, Jesus Christ, is that sitting next to me?
I have no comment.
Joe's gonna let me bury myself. All right, I'll keep going then.
Yeah, you
Fuck,
haven't
so
actually
easy.
said anything yet. You've just kind of hinted at you don't like sitting near fat people,
Okay.
but you're a good guy. That's all you've given us.
No,
so
not
far.
that he doesn't like it, but that he has some rageful, ireful
He-
opinion.
it brings up some ire
It's
in
an
him, but
extremely
he's still a good
challenging
guy.
thing.
Okay, so what's your solution?
Yeah.
Let's get into
Okay.
that.
Okay, so I hate it. Let me make that clear. That
So you're trying to say is you hate that these situations, not these people, but you still want to punish these people.
hates
so let's
them
get to that. I
for
want to hear.
putting him
I want to
in
hear
this
how
I
you
haven't
address-
gotten there. I'm treading this path very carefully.
Wait, but what is your line? What do you define as you say these
No,
people?
I just want to finish saying the
BMI
experience
based on
and
the
why
national
it's negative, right? So in the extreme case, somebody's taking up half your seat, and you only have half a seat, but you paid for a full seat. And
Okay.
airlines have been making the seats smaller and smaller, which is a separate problem. But so the seat is already tight for you,
Yeah.
and now you're squeezing into half of an already tiny seat.
But what's your line?
It's quite a harrowing experience if it's like a multi-hour flight. My fiance had to do that on a flight to Turkey once, and she was squished by this really fat person, and that's not fair to take a 10-hour flight, 11-hour flight, and have half the room that you paid for. You paid like $1,000 to fly in coach. You know what I mean? You're not even.
Yeah, no, you
flying
paid
business class.
$1,000 to fly magically like a Greek god across an ocean and several continents. That's what you're paying $1,000 for.
I'm not
for the fucking
being
fuel.
ungrateful to the remarkable.
Sounds like you are.
The remarkable fact that flying exists.
right.
What I'm trying to say is,
You're just saying you're not happy.
if you bought an ice cream cone and they gave you half of an
Something
ice cream
covered in
cone,
broken glass,
You have to
covered
bring
in
up
like
you have to bring up ice cream
fat
now?
sweat,
All right, Luke. So here, let me tell you why it's just a crapshoot. Because this has happened to me. I was on a tiny jet, and it was like one where there's a single seat and then two seats. And the guy next to me was huge. I think he was like a retired football player because he's watching football highlights on his phone. He had the big hands, like gigantic baseball catcher hands.
Oh, good.
But
That's
he had
the website.
But he was huge. He was like 500 pounds. He was pushing me into the aisle, and there was a seat open in first class, and I asked if I could have it, and the flight attendant said no, and then she went and sat in it 'cause she didn't want to sit in the jump seat. She wanted to sit in the open
Oh,
seat in
that's
first class.
complete bullshit. She should.
It
sit
is,
in
but
her
Sky
jump
Law,
seat.
I can't say anything. What can I tell her?
She's
I'd be
at
like, "You're
work.
being a cunt." Then they hog tie me with seatbelts, and I go on a watch list. You can't, like you said, you can't say
That
anything.
actually could be good for the podcast.
That would be great
Yeah,
on the podcast.
Could you
but
go with your wife and she films it, and then I'll get a good thunk lawyer.
Oh,
I mean, I would have a lot of
tweet the fuck
trouble.
out of it.
If I end up on a no-fly list, it'd be really hard to fly back east for podcasts episodes
true.
we do.
But you can hire a limo at that point. We'll be rich, bro.
You're right. I'll just take a week again to drive. I would do it in a
No,
stretch
a
limo.
week
That
a
doesn't
week
sound-
again to limo across the country. That's how you.
I would do that. That would have been better than a Subaru
And there'll be
with
no
two
dogs
dogs
with
and
dysentery.
yeah, and
Might
cases of
be,
beer.
but you'll be
everywhere.
in a limo. Who gives a fuck?
But so it's a crapshoot, Luke, because under your rules, okay, let's say
I
they
didn't
go
make
by
any rules
weight.
yet.
I know what your rules are, though. You're gonna say if you're
My
spilling
rules
over.
that I texted you, I've since reflected on a little bit. Let me just say that I was very angry.
Well,
when I was
here's
texting you.
here's the common layman's rule. I'm going to just make assumptions, pretending I didn't see those messages. Is that if you're spilling over into the next seat, you should buy two seats, right?
Yeah, but
That's
what
what
does that
most
mean?
people.
How do you define
That's the
spilling over?
response.
I'll tell you how the airlines
most people
define it.
give.
Yeah, but no, I'm curious to start with you, Johnny. How do you define spilling over into a seat? Like, is it 10%?
So I
Is it
think
20%?
yeah, you would have to pick a percentage because think about it. If
Can I
someone's
just
spilling
take
over,
my fat?
if you
Yes,
can, if you do,
it's not about
nobody
mass.
does that.
It's about volume.
Yeah. That's a good point.
If it were about mass, they wouldn't be shipping like bananas every time they fly from Miami to fucking New York.
But isn't it about mass? Because mass essentially translates to weight. So if you weigh twice as much and the plane needs that much more fuel.
It's not about mass. It's less about mass. Do you know every 50 pounds you add to the plane, how much dollar increase in the fuel cost that makes?
Well, it depends how far.
I looked it up today. So I know that. No, I mean per gallon. Like. Okay.
Right, but over the course of a flight, that adds up differently depending on where you're going.
It was like an average, like city to city flight, like a New York to Dallas, like a 3-4 hour flight, like a regional
How much?
airline. $3 per 50 pounds.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all, actually.
So it should cost $9 for a 150-pound person to fly.
No. I'm just saying, like the it's not so much of the weight. People sometimes
but that's the same as percentage of how much they spill over into your seat. If they spill 10% over into your seat,
no, volume and mass are not the same thing.
Then how do you calculate?
But Joe, you're forgetting.
How many people do you
Joe,
know that have like
hold
a
on.
big gut forward, but
he's
don't
already
grow wide
getting
at all?
angry.
I don't know.
That's me.
I haven't calculated
That's kind of me.
that.
Yeah, but you've seen those people in the world. You know that volume and mass and
I've
shape
seen
are
frog-faced people in the world.
what?
Pigman. So, but so
Absorb
Joe, you're
all
not
that,
thinking
Johnny,
of
and now give
if
us
you,
my
yeah,
Johnny, what's your answer
I
to
got
whatever my question?
I got it
initially
because
was?
there's something you didn't think about, like with the percentage thing. It is mathematical because if you say 10%, it has to be from both sides because you have to allow everybody that option. So that means that the middle seat is impinged, let's say 10% from each side. It doesn't meet safety standards anymore. Like if you could run a simulation where their seat is taken up and they have to sit like this or that, and you run it through like a crash test safety, it probably would fail. So you'd have to make it more safety based than comfort based.
Who's coming up with these measurements for these
Luke.
metrics? Like,
It's not a. I'll tell you what. It's two tests that they do in real
Luke
time.
Airways.
okay, yeah.
So
what
first
would
off,
these be?
if you're obese enough that you might be looking up these policies on their website, they have the policies, and most of the airlines recommend buying 2 seats. And the policy is that
Wait,
if
buying
the
2
plane
seats for what? Like for
yourself,
for what situation though?
so that you can sit in 2 seats that are adjacent and take up 2 seats.
But I'm asking like,
If you're humongo.
but do they define or specify what
Yes.
humongo is?
They do.
So
and
what do they
and
say?
a humongo person might know ahead of time. Maybe they've flown in the past and it happened to them.
No, but if
But
you're
you
on the
have
cuff,
to,
this is
you have
important to know.
No. I mean, because there have been overweight people that are kicked off the plane for this reason. Technically, when you buy a ticket, it says your seat in economy, coach, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to buckle the seatbelt, but that includes with an extender. So they have extenders for seatbelts on board.
Yeah.
And it helps the thing buckle around a larger person.
Yeah.
So that has to be able to buckle. And there are some people where they're so wide that even with the extender, the seatbelt does not buckle. And you have to be able to move the armrests on either side up and down. So if you can't move the armrest up or down,
I've definitely
that's
had
their
that
like
person sit next to me.
I see.
Because you can't safely, because if the plane crashes and you need to evacuate, you can't safely do it.
That happened when a Air France plane crashed in Toronto. A fat guy couldn't get off, and the plane was burning, and they were trying to get him off. Like that's a real security concern if you're
right.
Legit. I'm talking legit.
Right. So it's something that like when they ask you to buckle in and have the armrest down, if you can't do it, they'll say, "We'll buy another ticket for another seat," or they'll just kick you off the plane.
They
because you didn't buy a
probably
ticket
won't
ahead
do
of
anything
time.
unless the people next to you complain. Because at the end of the day,
they don't want to be
rather have that scandal, which has happened where like it happened 2 times in the U.S. where they had to kick a fat guy off the plane, and he went on the news and was like, "This is fat shaming. This is crazy. I'm a human being." That kind of thing. That's bad press for an airline, so they're not going to say shit.
So they're going to
But if
make
I
you,
complain-
their other customer, be the bad guy.
Yes,
That's a shady,
exactly.
subtle corporate move right there.
Well,
So the story...
it's easier
Wait, so
for
you
them
have to
have
be...
the fat guy like get to the city it's going, and he or she is going, and then that's that. And then like all that happened was one customer sat next to a fat guy. They're not even going to think it's American Airlines' fault as much as it's just like society.
Yeah, it's the fat shaming society's fault.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of okay with that, but I don't know, because now can't that guy try to, like, if you missed work because of that, because you missed the flight, can't you turn around and sue the person that got you kicked off the flight?
In the fine print of the ticket you buy, it says if you think you cannot fit into one seat at these, and it gives you the dimensions of the seat, you should book 2 seats, and if there are empty seats when the flight's leaving, will refund you that extra seat you bought.
See, that's actually very reasonable. Because,
that's pretty reasonable.
Normally,
they just say you should reserve too, because if you're like right on the border and you don't know,
you need to be able to show up and that's available.
Yes,
and that actually is.
And most
is
airlines say if you buy it, if you reserve 2 in advance and forward the money for the 2 seats, at the time that you check in, they'll charge the second one at 50% the price. But if you don't reserve 2 seats and you end up having to
you pay full price
in that moment, you pay the price that somebody would pay if they bought a
but
ticket
that's also
that
them.
day.
That's also them. Like they're sort of
making some money off of fat people.
Exactly. Like as corporate entities do, be like, oh, we'll pitch this as like, oh, this will be great. People will think we're
because they oversell anyway.
Selling that extra seat.
Yeah, they oversell the plane anyway.
So even if you show up and you need 2 seats, they might just sell your extra seat anyways because it's like, well, this flight's oversold, so if we have to kick your fat ass off, that frees up 2 more tickets. We still sold the tickets. Who cares? Like,
yeah,
if it gets the flight off the ground,
and they give you on like an emptier flight coming up.
But that does get into again the bad PR, right? That would not look so great if somebody went on the news and started complaining about that.
Yeah.
So what's your rule, Luke?
Well,
he has scales and rulers and tape measures. It's really weird. They're all in his car right now. In his trunk.
Actually, guys, the technical term for how big you are.
You really need a job.
Did you hear it?
I heard whisper.
Humongous.
Oh, humongous.
Remember that? That's an old viral clip.
What did
of a
you
guy.
say to me? What did you say to me?
Humongous.
We should have played that one for our freak out episode.
Yeah,
that would have been a good
That
one.
was a legit 10-minute freak out.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I kind of got
that man just sexually harassed me. And
no, I thought he sexually.
He made a
did he?
He said humongous. So, give you a name. It's Hugh. Hugh what? Humongous.
Yeah. Also, if you demand my name, if you demand my name, I'm gonna.
Your name,
She's
Governor.
like British Indian, I think.
Yeah, but
if somebody gets their cell phone in your face and angrily demands your name, you have every right to give them a ridiculous alias.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
Oh, my name's Johnny. Go fuck yourself. Like,
Yeah.
what do you expect me to say? Like, I don't owe you anything.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Totally.
That's a very New York.
But so, all I was thinking was, I was trying to. I want you to tell the rule that you would make them buy an extra ticket too.
Yeah, wait.
Same thing.
How's your airline different? Like you measure them like cattle before they get on the plane, right? And then charge their credit card.
You step up on the scale that they check the luggage on.
Yeah, I
Do
assume,
I get a discount
that's
if I'm
exactly
smaller?
what happens.
You could bill it as like
credit card on
you
file.
could bill it as like an a la carte flying, like pay what you actually bring, including your body weight.
That would work for because they already do that. They charge you buy a ticket and then anything else they charge you for anything seat.
Yeah,
personal.
Ryanair, the Irish airlines like that. You could fly from London to Paris for like
you have to pay for a
$20.
Item. You have to pay for everything.
Yeah,
like anything you can think of.
That's how they get the list prices to be so low.
Right,
and
exactly.
People book them and they're like, wait,
right. So you just charge a cattle fee surcharge when you get to the airport.
No, I would do it probably like when I texted you guys. I had not done any research.
Right, as you do, making your.
I've since looked up that this has been a problem and different airlines have made bolder moves. The only country that I know of with a law is Canada, which says that being fat is a protected class that you can't discriminate against.
Oh, Canada.
What does that mean?
It kind of means that if you have a doctor's note saying you're fat because of medical reasons, which
no, you just need a doctor's note saying you're fat.
Yeah, but
nobody held you down
that.
and injected you with fat.
And
society, bro.
And then the airlines have to provide so
accommodations.
Yeah, but it only applies to within Canada flights. International ones are different. So there was a problem where this kid got kicked off one. I forget the airlines, maybe Norwegian or something. But Air France made a very strict policy, and then they got all the bad press. So all the airlines have kind of backed into the sort of let's not deal with it if we don't have to. But technically, our policy is if the armrest can't move down, then you're technically
because it has to be a safety thing.
Yeah.
If you can get stuck in your seat, they can't get you out of the plane during a crash landing. They can't safely say they can guarantee you to get somewhere.
But that's a different issue than what we were initially talking about. Initially, what we were talking about is not so much. It's okay, so that's one line, the safety issue aspect of it. But if we go back to the original points that you guys were complaining about, the armrests are down with the most of these people. It sounds like that you've encountered, but they're still spilling over into your seat, making you uncomfortable, taking up your space.
Yeah.
The crux of
Yo, what
the
if
real
they do
issue
that
is,
shimmy move
What?
to get them down? What if they do the shimmy move to
No,
get
that's
them
what I
down?
mean. They can still get
and
it
then
down,
they're still
but it's not
spilling
comfortable.
over.
So how
Yeah.
do you address that? Because this is an actual realistic question in terms of like sort of what you were saying before. Well, I kind of feel like an asshole maybe for saying get the fuck out of my seat, but get the fuck out of my seat, right?
I think you put motion sensors between the seats and a scale, like a grocery scale in it.
See?
And if you're of
There
a
you go,
certain
Luke.
weight, if you're of a certain weight and it reads that you're spilling out of your space a certain amount, then a red flashing light goes off with like a klaxon,
Yeah.
like a and then the flight attendant comes over and
That
tells
would
you
be
you have
such
to
a
leave.
loud flight.
What? Which flight? All of them.
I mean, how else would you do it?
So yeah, what do you do to address this fact of still being
again,
uncomfortable for people
just
spilling
to be
over?
clear, because like my first reaction is to feel sad that the guy who's like fat and spilling over is aware of it, but he's just like, I don't know how this happened. I just got really overweight and I couldn't
Yeah.
seem to get on top, get on the winning side of this thing, and I gave up for 5 years, so that wasn't good.
Is this what he told
And
you?
here he's on the plane, like, but he still has to fly somewhere. Maybe he's flying to a funeral, whatever. And then there's me being annoyed next to him.
Yeah, but
So I definitely try to play the other side on this one.
But you could also make the argument, right? If we're going to talk about, okay, people who have conditions of various sorts, it's like, well, what if I'm somebody sitting next to one of these people who, the armrest goes down, they can buckle their seat, but they're at that limit. So as you say in these examples, they're sort of spilling over into my seat. What if I suffer from, like, severe anxiety and part of the applicant or the expression of that is I can't have just random strangers touching me.
When I
which
was
seems
young,
reasonable to
when I
begin
was
with in
young,
terms
I
of
had an
you being-
overweight. I had an.
not
I
hot
had
in
an.
the hot way, hot in the
Right.
temperature way.
What?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
warm.
Hold on.
Yeah, no.
Let me give
that's
a
what I
let me
mean,
give
like,
a
and
let me
you
give a
have doctor's note
hypothetical.
and you're like, I suffer from anxiety.
Joe.
I can't have people touching me.
I got you. I got a great hypothetical. You're young. You're a young child. You're at a party.
We're
A
young.
drunken, obese clown passes out and falls on you outside of the bounce house, and nobody comes to get you for like
Oh,
a
shit.
minute or two, and he's blacked out, just passed out, and you're just trying to escape from under there, and it's only like a minute, but it's so terrifying. Like you still have night terrors, you
Yeah.
can't hold down a job or a relationship like that. You're right. That's the root of your anxiety
Right.
as a person.
Right.
And then somebody of the exact same proportions sits down, and you're stuck in the middle
Right.
between two people like that on a plane.
Yeah.
And then when you freak out, you end up getting put on a terrorist watch
Can I
list.
insert a
How's
story
that not?
here that fits perfectly?
No, that's exactly the point, right?
Discriminating.
It's like what happens when these sort of conflicting, whatever conditions come into contact or come into play, right?
Right.
Because that seems like a
Well, is it fair that a little person has to pay full price because they let kids fly for free sometimes?
Well, that's what I mean. Who do you kick off the flight then?
I mean, any system's going to have problems.
That's true.
I got to insert a quick story with Johnny's hypothetical because I have the real
God.
world version of that.
There is no.
And
real
I only
world
just
version of
learned
that.
it like from my mom last week. Like I went out to dinner with her.
Oh my God, we're gonna find out some terrifying Basilov story. I can't
No,
wait.
so
Oh, those are the best,
When she
though.
was first a nurse, like she was a nurse for like 25 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
You never.
When she
mentioned
was first a nurse, she had
that sounds cool. First a nurse.
this like morbidly obese patient like fall on her and the other nurse.
Aha! See, this is what I'm talking about.
So that, but I mean, this was not.
is that why she told
was
you she
not
doesn't
even the
she doesn't hug you?
Yeah.
She doesn't. I don't want to crush you, Luke.
Yeah, I had a
just
bad
wanna
experience with a patient once. Go outside.
This person wasn't even on the scale of what
Go play
we're
with your
talking
dolls,
about,
Luke.
In terms of flying,
Lucas, put your dolls away.
I think they were 650 pounds. Like,
Lucas,
Oh,
I'll
geez.
throw them out.
yeah, like we're talking like a like crazy, whatever. So they were trying to help like change
Oh, God.
her clothing or something, and leaning her up and like really like pushed her back up or something. And the woman tried to kind of like grab her own weight, but then like fell on my mom and the other nurse into the corner of the room. And they legit couldn't get up, and the lady couldn't get herself up.
And
So
and
they
now
start
they're all
calling
dead.
for help, and they're smushed like under this like massive like obese 600-pound woman, and they call in some other nurses, and they all try to lift, and they can't do it. So they have to like figure out some other solution, and the whole thing takes like, I forget what she said. If it was at least a half hour.
Okay.
And here's the best part: the woman gets really hungry in the middle of this.
This is such a
Her lunch
Luke
shows
story.
up, and it's like a ham and cheese sandwich.
And she
starts eating it, and the crumbs are falling on my mom and this other nurse underneath her.
So
pinned
she
weight.
could plausibly have a doctor's note saying she suffers from crippling
So
anxiety.
if she's flying, she might have a permanent fear of
Yeah.
that happening to her. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. What happens when it's like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Like what happens when you have that person spilling over into your seat? And
It's crazy that the plane can even lift it.
What?
Okay, now you're just being mean.
Lift what?
So that's the problem
They got
too.
crates
Like
of-
now that this is just turning into our fat shaming episode. So on the one hand, I
Wasn't
do
the
feel
episode supposed to be about airplanes? We're just like
no.
talking about.
On the one hand, I agree with Luke. I do feel bad because that lady might actually have be ashamed. She's like, I need this sandwich right now, and she's eating the sandwich while she's crushing two women to half to death.
yeah, she clearly has
And-
a medical condition,
and
That's
she's
the point,
and
right?
I mean she's trapped in that body. Like if she falls down in her life, she can't just pop back up. That's not a sensation. Like it's an ordeal. It could take hours or days to get back. Like
that's
that.
true.
So on the one hand, that feels like enough punishment where you're like, wow,
Give
yeah,
him
you
an
did it to
extra seat.
you did it to yourself, but like that's a lot to deal with. Like I'm probably like 30 pounds, 20 pounds overweight, and like that hurts my back and it's just a pain in the ass. So I can't imagine being like 200, 300 pounds overweight. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
who
got to be
knows?
exhausting. But on the other hand, I get angry because I want to be that fat. Like I want to get 3 cheeseburgers when I go out every day. Like I do. It's delicious. I just don't want to be that big. But like,
Part of you wants to not care anymore.
I want to eat a bucket of peanut butter M&Ms twice a week. Like I would love that. That would be enjoyable. I want to drink the heaviest beer all day, every day. I kind of do already, but you know what I mean?
There's
Like
your 20, 30 pounds for you.
yeah, like I want to go eat fucking burgers every day. Who doesn't? Burgers, cheeseburgers, and fried French
I don't know, man.
potatoes fried in oil. I could eat that 3 meals a day.
I think it's
But
hardwired into
you
my
don't.
brain that I wouldn't enjoy it if I was always doing it.
I think it's a different type
Yeah,
of
that's what you
enjoyment,
convince
right?
yourself.
No,
it's a chemical thing. You
you're
convince yourself
confusing-
that about cigarettes too.
No, you're confusing enjoyment as sort of a stock all in one term. There's a difference between enjoying something and feeling fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right? And that's sort of the difference here. It's
Something
like,
lasting.
yeah, if you're the type of person who is in this situation where clearly you don't feel good and you eat all this food and it's like, just sort of bits of momentary satisfaction.
Yeah, I'm hedonism bot.
Yeah, I don't think you. I'm saying for you, like, I don't think you would actually be happy with that. I think you would be fucking miserable, and you would be very jaded.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of people like
I mean, I don't
someone
know. I
yelling in
think
your
that into
car.
people's
Like
minds, but
I've definitely run into a lot of like overweight people that get angry, like unreasonably angry in a situation.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like it's just like they're at a low simmer because they're just uncomfortable.
well, this is what we talked about
And-
in the public
I
freakout
get that.
episode. All those
Yeah.
public freakouts, they're projections of their own. Insecurities isn't fair to say because, of course, they have insecurities, but they've also had a lot of shit thrown at them by society, clearly, throughout their lives and their
Right.
entire lives, right? So it's sort of a projection of that. So, yeah, I don't feel like there's one good answer where you can look at and say, okay, that would solve everything, right?
There's none.
Yeah, there really isn't.
Most of the
right?
complicated issues that haven't been solved are because, like, there is no clean solution, Like, go ahead and solve the abortion problem. It's like, there's no clean solution to that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're taking the steel man of both sides, you get to an impasse. And,
Yeah.
like, sometimes that's your model. It has to be an impasse.
Yeah.
If
You have
you're
to
running an
agree to
airline,
disagree, as they say.
you have more wiggle room because like you have rules, but then you have your enforcing, and you kind of tell people sort of like they tell cops like which laws are the kind we're trying to really enforce right now. So like there might be marijuana is technically illegal in a state, but they don't really go after it. And if they put all their resources into it, then all of a sudden it'd be like a thing or whatever. I mean, that's how airlines deal with the obese thing. It's kind
that's
of
how
like,
they deal with the
unless
abortion
we
issue,
have
definitely.
to deal with it, then we'll lean back on our official policies.
Yeah.
But they're not trying to screw people over because, like, the customer service
Well, that's
is
bad
pretty important
business.
for
Yeah.
them.
It's all about customers.
I do have to say though, I do want to be a hedonist who just sits around eating burgers.
Wait, you're
and
still on this?
raviolis all day. Yeah, I'm really hungry now. I just want a burger. I
Really,
shouldn't have
though?
brought
Do
it
you
up.
think, like, what about on day 7? How would you feel?
This is
then?
me. This is
I'll
me.
be
on-
upstairs putting batteries and things.
That's hedonism bot.
I love
from Futurama.
hedonism bot.
Like you just find the next fun hedonistic thing to do. Like,
All right,
why
can we
not?
stop talking about fat people and talk about actual airplanes?
All right. So,
Yeah.
anyways, that was like obviously just one topic.
Luke
for
just had to
airlines.
get through that. So
No, I brought it up as a topic we might land on.
We might land on because he didn't research
I sp-
all the airline policies today. instead of-
What do
unfortunately,
you do
Luke.
when you're curious about something? Don't you start looking it up and then run late for teaching?
Yeah, I'm not denying that, but I am denying that. Like, it might come up in the.
I was
podcast.
10 minutes late for teaching.
Were you really?
because of that, that's worth it.
That's probably the best reason you've given so far for being late to teaching, because mostly it's like I just, the hand was still on the dick. So,
Oh, that was involved, but like I wasn't gonna skip.
That's weirder.
which is weirder?
I want to keep reading these guidelines, but I got to jerk one out. Good thing I got 2 screens. Like that's weird. It's a weird level of multitasking.
That is a tale of
But
two
but
vibes.
here, this is what's going to happen. This is my prediction. Luke's right. They're going to make the customer be the bad guy, and eventually, as plane seats get super small, because they're going to get smaller and smaller
Yeah.
as they have been. Have you seen those terrifying Asian ones where you're basically standing and strapped to a board? It looks like the droid drop ships
my
from
God.
Episode 1, Phantom Menace, where the rows come out and they like unfold. It's basically that for airplanes, and they're going to do them for like quick regional,
Who's
like
that,
same day
China?
flights. Yeah, it's in China.
Of course.
It's China. See, I didn't even say it was China, and he was like,
fucking
"What is
love
that,
China,
China?"
dude.
Of course, it's China. But so what's going to happen as seats keep getting smaller? They'll make that a rule, but also you're going to lose an empty seat next to you. Like if there's an empty seat, they're going to be like, "Oh, guess what? We're putting a fucking 50-pound duffel bag on that empty seat because it's the airline seat, and we're shipping enough stuff in. Like every inch will be optimized and filled with cargo. That they'll just be like, "Yeah, we don't leave seats empty if we don't sell them
There'll just
anymore.
be
We
like a
put
box
cargo
of
in them."
grapefruit, and it's like, oh, yeah,
Right, and it's
throw
like,
it.
can I have a
Well,
grapefruit?
they
It's
do
like,
that
no.
underneath.
If you touch the grapefruit, you go to jail. But I'm saying eventually it'll spill into the cabin.
Yeah, I don't know if any
Well,
of that.
that's my
slow
prediction.
down the boarding process.
Yeah, I don't know if any of that is ever going to happen.
Yeah, but
I think
it'll
they're
happen.
gonna stack boxes of grapefruits. Like,
Have you
on a
seen? Have
seat.
you seen? Have you seen
Don't
the
think it
trains
can't
in
happen.
India? Have you
who?
seen the trains in India that are like bristling with people hanging off of them with like stuff, like all their
confused, like,
fruits and veg
No.
and stuff? That's going to be the airlines.
What are you
eventually.
talking about?
We're heading towards a pretty steampunky, cyberpunky kind of future.
No, we're
I don't
not.
know. Yeah, we are. Part of it's going to be, like
What's the
chickens
last
running
thing you
around
read?
on planes
I
and
think you
shit.
just read
I think Johnny's been enjoying himself too much since he set up the West Coast studio in Portland.
I have been, but also
Doobie
I've been,
Tuesdays,
no,
dollar Doobie
Johnny, you
Tuesdays
should put
over
out a
there.
solo episode. Just like go Oregon
Jo-
level deep on beer and weed, and just hit record.
all right. I thought that's what this episode was.
Apparently.
But
Yeah,
no, I
we're
could do
real.
that.
We haven't said.
I did smoke some CBD cannabis the other day
Nice.
with large amounts of THC in it, and
CBD is legal here.
and
Wait,
I
it's just weed.
and I it sounds
smoked
better.
weed.
And I had that. I was reading about the hurricanes and shit in the Caribbean. It's really the only way to get between a lot of those places is planes.
Flying,
'Cause
yeah.
Is
Oh,
flying
take a
because
vote.
boats are
Topic of the
a boat is so expensive. First of all, to maintain in the Caribbean and get just for passenger
Oh,
travel.
tell me about it.
So everyone flies, and Bahamas just said if you originally they said, hey, before the storm, anyone that's here illegally from Haiti, like don't be scared and hide from us. We just want to keep people alive through this natural disaster. So like don't hide from the government. We're not going to deport you. And now they're like, yeah, now that we got a handle on things again, we're going to start kicking you out if you're here illegally. So Haitians get the fuck out. And I just thought about how wild the Caribbean's going to get with these storms continuing and like climate change and shit. And how like the planes that fly around in these small little regional areas are going to just be very cyberpunky.
Well, that's going to flood pretty hard, right? A lot of those islands will lose a lot of territory.
Right, and there's millions and millions of people that live there. So, like, what's that going to do to their transportation and their?
Yeah, that's already
and-
happening in places, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah,
As soon as
shipping
taking
grapefruit
off
on a
is not
passenger
such a big
plane. Isn't
deal,
that
like
weird?
when you don't need a runway anymore,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
runways make airports have to be so big.
Dude, I think that's actually going to be the biggest useful application, ironically, of the new rocket Elon Musk is working on, the Starhopper or whatever.
The big metal one.
Yeah, because that one is meant to go to Mars, but guess what's way more economically viable than going to Mars? Going from New York to Tokyo in 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Which you'll be able to do in that rocket.
Oh my god.
And you don't need a
That's
runway. You just
crazy.
take off from the middle of New York Harbor.
And you land in a platform, and you take the
Tokyo
ferry
in half an
ride.
hour.
But how
Yeah,
do
the
they, like-
ferry ride from the platform to the city of Tokyo is probably longer than the rocket ride, right?
Yeah, I think it would be a 10-minute ride.
That's
from
crazy to
New
think
York
about.
to San Francisco.
But if it's a rocket,
Crazy.
you'd have to land
Jesus.
like out. You couldn't land like on top of Rockefeller Center just because you're in the NBC rocket. Like you'd have to land on one of their floating platforms.
I mean,
out
you
in
can
the
land
water.
wherever. It has landing, gear.
Yeah, I just don't see like New York City or Tokyo letting you land a rocket in their city.
Why not?
I'm just saying. I just think it's cool to think that like you'd have to land because that's how they do it now. SpaceX, they land on those barges.
On the drones, yeah. It would probably. You're probably right. It would be. I mean, it would be
But
wherever
for
it is.
passengers, like normal non-astronaut passengers, they would have to figure out the acceleration and deceleration so that you don't ever get more than like 2 Gs or something that like
Or
we
you
normally
just
get,
have
like
to be-
1.5 Gs on a plane.
That's true. It would
you
have
know?
it would have to be reasonable. Where old people aren't going to explode.
You know when you feel the blood
Right.
lift up in your body when you're on a plane,
Yeah.
like it loses altitude for a second.
Yeah.
That feeling is about like either -1 G or +1 G.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Rockets can go to.
or I think
several
1
Gs
G
at
is
least.
what we're feeling now. So it's like maybe.
But
1.5.
it's like a logarithmic thing, right? Like 7 Gs is
It's way more than
just
yeah.
7 times. Yeah, it's okay.
But rockets would be the end of sort of travel.
seen
I
that-
feel like,
yeah,
as an
have you-
idea, because it's just you're not traveling; you're just getting there in half an hour. Like I don't
Right,
think of
so-
getting somewhere in half an hour as traveling.
So they
not
did
a travel
that.
day.
Did you ever
'cause
see that show?
It takes
The
longer to get like to the next town over here than
Yeah.
it would to get to Tokyo. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see that show? I think it was The Expanse, where they have like most of the solar system has been colonized, and they had to figure that out with the momentum thing. The way it works is when you're flying. Let's say you're going from here to pick Jupiter, one of the moons of Jupiter or something.
Europa.
You would accelerate the whole time. Right, and that gives you artificial gravity because you're increasing in
Oh,
speed the whole
yeah.
time.
I've read about
and then when
this,
you
yeah.
hit the halfway point, it's a
decelerate
sci-fi ride.
and
You start
flip.
decelerating and it
Yeah.
flips, but there's like a sound goes off and and everyone just kind of floats, and the cabins are set up to have 2 floors.
Oh my God!
So
you should have
kinda
sex right at the
switch.
flip time so that
You-
like
well,
you're, like,
on a
free.
plane, you maniac.
I know, but you're free falling for like a second, you know.
Yeah,
And
And then it
you
goes
get
back
free fall
to-
sex, and then you just reverse like the bed's now the ceiling.
This is why you're
and then
not
gravity
allowed on a
kicks
rocket,
in.
Luke.
Yeah, so you could figure that out with a Earthbound rocket, I think, right?
No, I think it would be too quick. But doesn't that take a lot longer then to go from like here to Mars? Like you solved the gravity issue, but it would take like twice as long, right?
Yeah.
Because you're decelerating for half the distance. Like you should.
But you're accelerating so quickly that your speed ends up being constant.
Yeah, but
'Cause
that's
by the time you get to the middle, you've been moving so fast, it makes up for when you were moving slow at the beginning. And
It
when
would
you were
have to
moving
be.
slow
It
at
would
the
have
end.
to
go
be
so
something
fast right now.
approaching
That's
like
the thing.
50% the speed of light, which obviously we've never done.
Well, yeah.
Oh, it
this
doesn't
is
need to be
science
that
fiction.
fast, but it needs to be substantially faster than we can currently do with regular chemical rockets. Like
I mean,
those are hilariously inefficient.
as
when you
amazing as
think about
airlines
trying
are,
to get to light speed.
you can get from New York to London in like 5-6 hours. That's amazing, right?
That's pretty
That's
dope.
amazing. But
There
when
you go.
you now transpose that on the space travel,
Oh, it's not even close.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
You're
Not even
wasting
close.
your time. You're going to die on a shitty piece of metal if you think you're going to fly to the
An
next
airplane
star
to
or
Mars,
something,
yeah.
you know? But even fly an airplane to Mars, right? When we launch things into orbit, it's going in the like 20,000 mile per hour range, like 40,000 if you
Which
really
people
launch
can't
it
even
and
really
like,
comprehend.
use the gravity from a planet to speed it up or whatever,
Yeah.
things like that.
You need to start to explain those speeds in miles per second.
The fastest a
That's the
plane
thing.
goes is about 1,000 miles per hour.
Not the planes we fly on.
Yeah, like when
they
they're
don't.
like the
1,000 miles per hour?
we were going like 960 miles per hour on the flight to Turkey.
No way.
Yeah, ground.
Yeah, probably.
What?
But if you go
When
the
they
other
get
way,
high up
you
and cruising and they hit the jet stream.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like when I was coming from Oregon to New York, we were going 6 something, but on the way back we were only going 4 something because you're fighting
yeah.
the Earth at that point.
And they don't. I guess. I mean, this particular flight, I think, was way faster than I remember. So I think we caught like a good tailwind.
Brought to you today by Miller Lite. Enjoy the light.
That was pretty good, but it's not brought by them. God damn it! It's another fake advertisement.
Oh,
No,
reverse
it's
advertising.
reverse sponsorship.
All right, let's save that.
Yeah, sure.
What? That was pretty
Reverse
good. That sounded like it was in reverse.
Is that
I
not
bought
how
it.
this works?
Do you guys ever get nervous while flying?
Yes. I hate it. I'm not supposed to be there.
What? Give me a run through of Joe's internal dialogue as you're like taxiing, take off, and
taxiing, and then we take
like,
off.
what's generally
and then
in your mind?
I'm peeing, and then I'm just in the air, pretty much. No, it's this idea that as much as I know that I'm safer in the plane I'm safer flying in the plane than I was driving to the airport by a pretty substantial margin.
Your
Probably,
anxiety is way higher.
probably multiple times, right? I both marvel and I think it's the marveling of the fact that this should be impossible.
Yeah, that you're
Right?
doing it. You're convinced that it's going to work.
But I'm also not doing shit. I'm sitting in
You're powerless.
I'm sitting in a seat wondering when the fuck are the free snacks going to come because I got to take a dump in the back, right? I'm not
You're doing more to
dick
you're
on
doing
this
more
flight.
to you're doing more to fly than Ramses the Great ever did to try to fly. You know what I mean? You got on the plane. You're actually doing it. You did it.
Right, but
I feel like I'm testing my
Ramses.
sanity a little bit, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I'm testing. Am I actually convinced this thing's going to fly?
well, it's also something that's not normalized if you think about the span of human history. Like, for the span of human history, this is myth, what you're doing. It's myth. If you
But that's what I
describe
like
this
about
It's a
it
myth
is
to
it's not.
me.
If you describe this story to 99.99% of humans throughout history, they would say, oh, this is a cool God story that you got on a magical...
Oh, how does it work? Well, the
device and-
wings create lift. How does that
Oh,
work?
wait, do they flap? No, they don't have to. Okay, that's
Do
definitely
they flap
magic
like
then.
birds? Yeah, so they're just.
That's
sitting
something
there.
my father-in-law is a pilot, and he hates the song "Wind Beneath My Wings" because it's actually the negative pressure of the wind above the wings.
It's the
that
high
causes
pressure
the lift.
above the wing. Yeah.
or the high. Yeah, the high pressure that causes the lift. So it's
Yeah.
really the wind above the wings is way more important than the
The
wind.
curve of the wing makes
You are the lift
air
above my wings.
speed up as it goes.
Yeah, that works just as well.
And so air.
But see, that's what I like about. Don't
Isn't
try
it
to
the opposite,
pretend to
Johnny?
explain it. No, you said it. Whatever. It's but don't try to explain flight. We're not that good on
The
the
Bernoulli
physics
principle,
side.
I think, right?
That's great. Boyle's law.
No fucking idea.
No,
Joe,
I'll link
just
in
Joe.
the episode notes. Theoretically, a cool video about how wings create lift.
Joe, you just nod and you go, yeah, Boyle's law.
Oh, yeah, Boyle's.
No, it's
Bode's law.
It
No
is the
Bode's law,
Bernoulli
bro.
principle. I'm pretty
No.
sure.
No, it probably is. But anyways,
Like,
you
share, and subscribe.
what was I saying about planes? God damn it.
If you haven't already, folks, thank you for listening, and we would like to encourage you to support us on Patreon.
I always
Brought to you
fantasize-
by Yingling.
I always fantasize about
Your
the person
podcast
who like
beer.
clicked on us by accident, thinking that like we're gonna help them, like, you know, think through all the things. Here,
Oh, I
9
remember
things
now.
not to
Shut
forget
up,
when
Luke, I
flying
remember.
internationally this year.
But fuck you if you're clicking on our podcast for that.
Yeah, it takes an hour and a half. We give you 2, maybe. But no, I remember
If you're
now what
lucky.
I was going to say is
I don't believe that.
like what makes me feel not freaked out on a plane is it's not like, you know, something like cooking, which is much more interpretive or suggestive, or music. Like it relies on science. The pilot doesn't have to be amazing or like have innate ability. Like if they just do the training and
But they
follow,
have to
there's like
be
a set of rules
smart.
to fall back on, and like that's why I don't get nervous on a plane. Whereas, you know, like cars, like nobody's talking. Like planes all talk to each other in the sky. If something
Yeah.
goes wrong, it's a malfunction. Like cars
They have
also
an
blow up,
autopilot,
but cars smash
avoid
into
each
each
other
other.
software.
Yeah, but your car's way more likely to get smashed into by some idiot not looking at the road than for just like something to blow up in your engine that
I
could
almost
hurt
got
you.
hit by
That's true,
some
yeah.
fucking 16-year-old practicing parallel parking today.
I
And
saw.
I'm just
Yeah,
like, Jesus, stop! You're good.
I saw a crazy crash on the way home, and it was just these two cars accordioned, just smashed, and the one was on fire.
Oh wow! Look at that stretch. Johnny
got the
has.
stretchy cord.
Yeah, I should tell the listener.
The West Coast studio is fully operational.
Johnny
they
has
just
this
saw it.
awesome stretchy headphone thing. He could just walk throughout his room with the headphones connected.
But here's the thing, Luke. The
Right to
crazy
the beer
crash
fridge.
I saw today, where there were the two accordion cars, and one was on fire, and there were mad cops
no
everywhere.
dead people.
There were just people walking around. Whereas
Right.
if all of a sudden, the plane engine explodes, your initial reaction is, well, I'm about to die. And I get to live through that for, I don't know, 3 to 30 minutes, I guess.
Keep in mind that
That
whole
I think
thing.
is a big
You know what they
deal.
say
It's
the
the
most
statistic
terrifying
of it,
part of
right?
a plane crashing is?
way more
I was
people drive than fly, though. Like
That's true.
And
But I think per percentage, you're still way more
it's
likely
definitely
to die
safer.
driving.
Like you can think of it as safer. I'm not arguing that.
And
but
a person can take any drug they want or they can find, and then get into a car that's not even theirs, that they don't have a license to, and physically drive it. Whereas it's pretty hard to get
in your car.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get up in a plane that fucked up. And if you are, chances are, like, NORAD will be like, "Why are you like zigzagging around this city like drunkenly?"
Look at the Malaysian Air's flight, dude. They started zigzagging, and the air traffic control was like, "What the fuck?" And they never responded, and then they just went south.
Well, that's because they got
heard from again.
Well, that was a weird
crazy
thing.
It just
that might have been
off the radar.
That might have been the aliens, but that's another episode. It might have been
definitely
aliens.
abducted by aliens.
It's possible.
I remember what CNN was trying to say. Like, maybe they went through a wormhole.
Yeah, like Langoliers.
But no,
It
here's
could be
some.
like
Here's
Stephen
some.
King, Langoliers.
Have you, dude?
That's a weird, low budget, made for TV movie.
Oh my god, it's
That's
terrifying.
probably the
Langoliers
best
scared the
made
shit
for
out of me.
TV movie. You know what I mean? That's probably the best one. The best adapted, I think.
Langoliers.
No, I've watched it like 2 times.
I would get. I would
the
get
most
on that
potential
pilot's plane.
of
That motherfucker was legit. Who was
Yeah,
flying
he knows
that
how to
plane.
fly.
What are you
through
gonna?
a time
No, you know what, Luke?
wormhole.
Fuck
Yeah.
that, Joe.
And then
Joe.
save him, sacrifice himself to save everyone.
Right, 'cause somebody has to stay awake.
Somebody has one man left behind.
How did they put themselves to sleep?
They cut the air to the cabin or the oxygen to the cabin. Yeah.
What a stupid rule! This is a this is
Now we're getting
this is a story by Stephen King called.
I think it's like a
Langoliers.
quantum entanglement thing, but check out this beer. We didn't mention our beers yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We've
Relapse.
been advertising them all episode. Relapse. Don't relapse, but relapse.
Well, can I plug my beer real quick? I know you want to talk about Stephen King, but
No, plug the beer.
so I just had one from Groundbreaker Brewing Company in Portland, and Portland, Oregon, and it's a gluten-free brewery. So I had their pale ale, dry hop pale ale, was made with sorghum, chestnuts, organic lentils, Belgian-style candy syrup, which I believe is a beet sugar, cane sugar, and organic tapioca, maltodextrin, and then hops. And it's really
fuck
nice.
That maltodextrin.
It's organic tapioca maltodextrin. It's a sugar. Maltodextrin's a sugar, you savage,
it's
okay?
evil. It's
And beer,
Satan
all
incarnate
fucking
is
beer
what it
has
is.
some
I heard it causes
dextrins in it.
autism.
It causes everything. Name something.
What does it?
Maltodextrin.
Vaccine.
So you guys want to hear some terrifying plane stuff I have for you?
Sure.
Yep.
Oh, and I just opened Relapse Cold IPA from it's a IPA from
No, you gotta have a good fake-
Wayfinder Brewing.
Can you pour me
Delicious
some of that
as well.
through Skype? Is that a thing?
Dude, you got to have a good fake
Should
line
be.
for it. Like relapse. Don't collapse, but relapse.
Oh, to like market it?
Yeah. Come on.
That would have been good. All right, so you did it for that one. I'll do the next one.
Yeah, we're never going to get sponsors unless we.
You're right.
Reverse
I'll step it
sponsor.
up.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Unless we
episode is brought to you by Home Depot.
So
Shop smart.
everybody gets
build
scared.
your podcast your way.
Everybody gets scared flying. If they get scared, it's usually the landing, right? Because that's in the
takeoff,
movies
dude.
with.
No, the takeoff scares the fuck out of me because I'm thinking like, oh, we're just high enough in the air now where we're probably going to crash and I'm going
Both
to die
scare me.
instantly.
Both scare me. But the takeoff scares me more because often I get the feeling like, okay, we're not in the sky yet, and we're already going
Yeah,
fast enough that
exactly.
we're just going to crash into the ocean.
You're like, I would definitely.
You
die this
do
fast
pass a
in
point,
car.
yeah.
You pass
There
a
is a
point where
point
it's
that
like
you
either
don't know
you get
the
the
pilot
lift
does,
or fuck you.
No, see,
You're
I
coming
get,
back
I get to the
down,
point where I'm
yeah.
like, this is way faster than I've ever driven in a car, and I would definitely die if I was in a car and hit something at this speed.
And I can't
That's the
tell how
point.
much longer the runway is. And a lot of these fucking airports, as
like
soon as you get
LaGuardia?
some lift,
Yeah.
you're over water.
Yeah.
And you're like, so what happens if we like didn't get lift? Like, what happens if there were
Science,
enough?
dude.
What happens if there were enough overweight people on the plane that
Oh, here he goes.
they
Here
miscalculated
he
the
goes.
takeoff speed?
They didn't weigh them all at check-in, and look at us now. We're
No,
all
they
dead.
weigh
So that's-
everything, and they assume an average weight for
at,
customers.
at Luke Airlines.
They take your age into account. So children, they give an average child weight up to an age.
That's so ist, dude.
No, I'm just saying, like, they need to know how much the plane weighs, and that's how they calculate the speed for the takeoff, depending on other atmospheric conditions. So, like, they have to know how much each bag weighs, not so much so that they can charge you, but so that they total up the weight of all the checked baggage, and that goes into the calculation. They total up all the weight of anything, and that goes into the calculation. You know what I mean?
No, I think you're racist.
No, like one time
And
our
I-
plane wouldn't take off because
Suck. You suck.
because
And
they,
I'm an NYU film school graduate. Sucker.
they were cross-pollinating episodes.
If you haven't listened to our public freak out, we should be plugging other episodes. If you haven't listened to our public
you
freak
have
out
to.
episode,
As Joe says in some of the intros, it might be one of our best.
oh, this is definitely our worst. But I'm going to keep saying it at the beginning of episodes, like I did this one, because why would I stop now if you're listening?
Oh, this is for sure one of our best episodes. Yeah.
The best. We have fantastic.
They're
episodes.
always the best.
It's
So
huge.
I have a quick guest here who wants to tell a takeoff story for you guys. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Wait, are they drinking beer?
Yeah.
I just did, yeah.
She just did.
Hey, Kara.
Ching.
So this is Kara.
Hey, man.
She comes and contributes
And
sometimes.
I use that as a gender neutral term.
That's good.
What,
Just so you know.
Kara?
Yeah. Man. Like when I say hey, man, like
Oh, it's
I
cool.
don't
So,
imply
anyways,
any
tell us
form of-
about your.
man,
She's
I
she's
cool.
flown quite a bit in her life, and she actually has a pretty terrifying takeoff story. Would you mind telling us?
Yeah, there was a
Oh, I'm not
a
happy about this
blizzard.
already.
Yeah, I got to fly Friday. Fuck this.
there was a blizzard in
Oh, good.
in
No
Jersey
worries.
because
Oh, you're already. fucked
Nothing can
during a
ever go
blizzard
right in Jersey.
Yeah.
and
We
they
have
kept
Jersey
saying like
listeners?
nothing's leaving, nothing's
Definitely.
leaving.
I don't know if we have
But-
downloads in Jersey.
Were you like on a questionable flight, like right when they were canceling them, kind of thing?
Yeah, well, for the longest time they were saying that they weren't gonna let any go through, and then there was like I guess a window in the weather, and they said, "All right, everybody get on the plane. Like we're gonna try and do this." And
It was very my dad way. of
sitting on the
saying
plane, you know, they're de-icing, and then we start taking off. And we're like, "All right, cool." And then we start taking off. This giant gust of wind comes and just slams the plane down back into the ground.
Like it hit the ground.
I mean, the wheels hit it. It wasn't like the nose crashed or anything.
But the wheels
You-
smacked back
you
down.
You felt like it lifted off the ground, and then a
we had lifted off the
downdraft
ground
kinda,
and-
like pushed
yeah.
it back into the ground. Fuck that.
Yeah, and
Oh
then the
my God.
pilots were like, "Yeah, we're turning around." And I don't know if Johnny said so far, but I have 5 pilots in my family, and I told one of them about that experience, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's not ideal."
Like, so what happened when it slammed it down? Did they just immediately abort the takeoff?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we went back taxiing for a second, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not going to try that again." And
That's what I
that
mean.
was the
Like, so
last
it
plane
got
that
a
tried
little
to
lift
leave that night.
and then it slammed back down, and then they just hit the brakes, kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Damn.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
but so
That's
that
a
freaked
crucial
her out for
moment
a
of
while
flight.
after
Like,
that.
you're either going to get enough lift to like clear the city that you're about to fly over, or you're just going to crash into the Long Island Sound or the.
Well, that's
Atlantic
fine.
Ocean.
I like again, I don't know what you guys have talked about so far, but having all these pilots in my family, they all pretty much say if you've got 2 wings, you're fine.
Yep.
They go through such rigorous training every 6 months in simulators that show all these scenarios. Like, you know, nothing against Tom Hanks and whatever, but I think that was who played
Sully?
it. Sully.
Oh, Captain
But Sully, like
Great guy.
what he did, literally every single
Yeah,
other
you
pilot.
ask any pilot in front of
Any
people, they're
pilot.
like, "Oh yeah, it was great. He saved those people." You ask any of them privately with a few drinks, like, "Fuck that guy. I could have crashed it in the water."
Yeah, that's what they train for. They train
Yeah.
for that exact scenario,
so it's
like
just
a
an
water
easy-
landing.
It's just an easy maneuver. It's just what you do.
It's not easy. It's just that that's what.
It's
That's
not
why
easy,
we have
it's
people in the
expected,
cockpit,
right?
You know, like
Right.
most
That's just
planes
what you
at
would
this
do.
point. Yeah, most planes at this point fly themselves. They, you know, they're like great Teslas up there.
It's like the last
But
2
we
minutes
have-
the pilot takes control with the landing, something like that.
Yeah, usually like the first couple minutes and the last couple minutes, and then other than that, they're just watching that all the radars and the blips and the boopies are in the right
The bleeps,
zones.
the sweeps, and the
boopies,
beeps.
you say.
A lot
Yeah.
of the work I've been watching this YouTube channel called Mentour Pilot, and it's just
Great
like
guy.
this guy that just like makes like videos where he'll just talk about something, or he'll do like he'll videotape himself in the simulator or like while actually flying, and he just answers like he'll go through like the simulator training where they go, this is what will happen if 2 minutes after takeoff, both engines fail because we hit a flock of geese, something like what happened with Sully. And the plane turns into a glider because these planes are designed to be like, they can glide, you know? You have alternate power that comes
Do you know what they say?
And
Do you know what they say is the most terrifying?
Control, you know?
As long as you have the flap control, probably.
Well,
yeah.
some planes are wired with cables that control the flaps. In fact, the 737 MAX 8
It's a
grounded
hydraulic
still
thing, yeah.
is a cable one, I'm pretty sure. Some pilots
it's
prefer
hydraulic
that 'cause
or pneumatic,
they
yeah.
can feel it, you know? But other ones are hydraulic, like electrically.
Right.
Yeah, but you just need a small amount of energy. You don't need a giant jet turbine to keep those batteries going. But they say the most terrifying part when people survive crash landings where they have engine failure, the scariest part is you can hear the engines dying, and you don't realize how loud they are until they cut out.
Yeah,
and there's like a
so
split.
quiet.
There's a split second before, because it gets real quiet, and then you start to hear the wind as it's passing by, because you start to lose that lift and drop a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
So you feel it too. You talk about that feeling when the blood jumps, when they start descending at the end of the flight. So you feel that as the sound cuts out, and that whine gets louder. And of course, my brain just thinks of those World War II dive bombers.
Yeah.
Where they come in the movies. And those they did on purpose. They had like whistles attached to the plane because they knew it would terrify the shit out of people.
Yo, could you
Those
imagine
ones go
being in one of those?
into way more of a dive
Holy
than
shit.
they like on.
Yeah.
I forget the exact number, but there's a calculation depending on how high you are and what kind of plane you are. Like you can go this many miles per 1,000 feet, and I forget the exact number,
falling?
but
Yeah.
they calculate like how many miles can we make it if our engines are no longer operational.
Right.
And what they do is they use the falling energy to increase speed. So if they angle the nose down, instead of trying to use up all their energy on lift, right?
Yeah.
They allow themselves to lose altitude, which gains them speed, which
Right.
creates more
They're going
lift.
forward
That's what
still.
they do with the space shuttle, because the space shuttle, when it landed, there's no engine that you're using. It's all gliding, and so
Friction. Yeah.
and so you have to plan it out like way in advance and do this crazy
calculate
loop
it,
to land. But there's very subtle variations in the
If
tilt.
you have some kind of rudder,
Yeah.
right? So one of the
well,
things
that's all you need. Yeah,
that slows down
but
a
the
plane
whole thing
is
the
they
whole
bank.
Thing, it becomes a glider the whole
Yeah.
way down. Yeah.
When a plane banks,
Yeah.
it slows it down, right? On the plane, you ever see those flaps go up and just face against the wind?
Yeah.
Those
when
are
you land,
called
yeah.
like I forget what they're called, like wing brakes or wind brakes or something like that. They're
I believe it's called a flappy do. But go ahead.
flappy.
Floppy do.
Floppy do.
Great
I'm
inventor.
sorry, as the person who knows most about planes in the room, it's called a Flintstone.
Oh,
Okay.
I think she's right. It does start with an F.
A foil?
Have you
Is it a
guys ever
foil?
been part of an abandoned landing, like where it lands and then takes right back off?
You mean a
No,
transfer?
that does happen. No, they'll start to land and like it's too icy or they're having too much speed, so they just take off again
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
circle back around.
you?
The craziest
It's
when
called
you
an
see a
aborted
plane.
landing. Kara,
Or
I
have
talked
you
to your
seen
dad
planes
about
when they
this.
try to-
He said it happens about like 1 out of every 10, 15 times. Like
Wait,
you just
what?
don't realize it.
1 out of 10, 15 times.
Like I forget the.
They
exact
don't
number.
always
He said
touch
maybe-
down. They might approach and then abort too. Because have you ever seen a plane land with crosswinds? They come in at like a
those are
45
crazy,
degree
yeah.
angle to account for it, and then when the rubber hits, it just straightens out. That shit is
They
so
come in
nerve-wracking
sideways
to
so that
watch.
they can put the nose into the wind.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they come in looking like a crab.
Because that has happened
Terrifying.
where I've been at that. Because sometimes you get to a certain height and you think like, oh yeah, we're 2-3 minutes away from landing, and then there's been times before where I'm like, we're at that height, and then all of a sudden it's been 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
you're
that's-
circling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
probably-
so yeah, sometimes it's circling, waiting for other planes to land. But
right. But they usually
listeners, you
announce
got to
that, too.
remember, planes are so safe. There are right
yeah,
now
we already
No, they blow
tens
up all
of
the time. What are
thousands
you
in the
talking
sky.
about?
I know. Isn't
Yeah,
it
actually,
crazy that right now at this moment,
I went.
there's tens of thousands.
And they
of
call it
planes
the city in
hurling
the
through
sky.
I saw a
Yeah,
movie
at
once.
any given point, there's over 100,000 people in the sky
You
right now.
ain't
That's a
nothing
small
but a
city worth of
city
people. That's how many
So
people live in
many
Beaverton.
overweight people are sitting on
Oh
airplanes
God,
right now.
here he goes.
Oh, here it goes.
Overflowing.
Yeah, we covered all that.
I actually went to school with a chick that a plane crashed in her yard.
Was it full of aliens?
No, it's full of people. They were at church, but like she said, like years later, like their dog would go like wandering in the woods and come back with like bones with a engagement ring on it, and they would like return them whenever they found it.
Why didn't they cash in the engagement rings?
Religious people, I guess.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that bad juju? Like bad karma?
Yeah, right. And well, and that plane,
in my fucking backyard. I'm selling your fucking jewels and medals.
that plane, they couldn't find the black box, so they don't know why it went down either. It was like in the 90s.
Why do they make it black? Isn't that going to make it harder to find? Why don't they make it like a pink box? Doesn't that stand out?
I think it's actually orange.
Wait,
Orange.
so that's bullshit. Then it's
Sorry,
an
hold on.
orange
Wait.
box.
You two are both from Florida. I say orange.
Florida?
How do you say orange? Is it orange,
Orange.
or orange?
Well, I'm from New York, so it's orange. Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, bitch, where's your birth
orange.
certificate?
Well, we were raised by New
I wanna
Yorkers in
talk about
Florida.
it.
So.
Is that like the shame of your life?
I had to,
Yeah,
s-
let's
I
go
had
with
to,
that as the shame of my life.
I had to say that
Florida's bad, but it's not as bad as some of my experiences.
when we moved here. I think it was the gas company asked me my place of birth, and I was like, Florida.
Plantation.
Like I've had to move locations here to the West Coast. A few people they asked like your name, whatever, last 4 digits,
Yeah.
like municipalities or whatever, like to move the mail or something. It's like, and your birthplace, and I have to say Florida.
Yeah, that came up the other day. I was on a date, and this chick was like, "Wait, where are you from?" And I was like, "Florida."
What do you mean by that?
And she was
Where I'm
like,
from- where I'm
"What?"
from.
And I was like, "Yeah."
Well, I spent a good couple months in my mother's uterus,
You should have been like, I know where all the best.
and then I came out to Florida, and the humidity didn't change.
Hey,
That's gross.
Was that too
That's
much?
pretty gross. But you could just say,
go ahead, Kara. Make your vagina jokes. Oh, hey, Luke.
Hey everyone, I'm back. I peed.
That's one of my 3 go-tos.
I've
that's
never
your
heard
vagina
that joke.
privilege.
That's a good one.
Thank
About
you.
Florida.
Thank you. Please reuse it liberally.
Liberally.
Conservatively, I don't know. You're from Florida.
So I think planes are great.
against your own self-interest.
Hey, Kara.
America is great. I think what we should really focus on is making planes greater again. Would you agree?
Hey Kara, what?
Yeah.
I know you share the same thing. I have like a pretty
That rash?
like intense fear of flying. Like,
No, actually, I've done
anxiety while flying.
Yeah.
We should talk about that. 'Cause that's, like, a real
Benzodiazepines
thing.
are fabulous. So I'm not sure when it happened. I've flown the first flight I took. I was under 6 months old and have been flying constantly since then. But around 24, 25 maybe, I acquired a
It was
pretty
right.
severe phobia.
It was right around when that
Well,
aborted
I'm-
takeoff thing happened.
It was around that time, but it might also have been. I flew into. I was leaving out of Amsterdam, and I flew into. Where's the UN headquarters?
You didn't fly into that.
No.
Brussels, The Hague, New York City,
No, Switzerland.
Geneva.
Geneva. I
That's
flew
not
into
their
Geneva.
headquarters. But you flew in there.
Was
I'm
this on the
drinking
way
an
to
empty stomach.
Scotland?
No. It was on the way to
Geneva.
Thénard-le-Bain, France, to get my tattoo. And it was on this tiny ass little plane, and it was the worst turbulence that I've ever experienced. Like bouncing, like your ass left the seat kind of turbulence. Which all the pilots
I mean,
that
you're
I know,
flying over the Alps. So
Yeah,
what do you want?
yeah. So
Mountains
coming
are
into
the number
Geneva,
one
it's
cause, I
like
think, of turbulent air.
But if you were
Yeah.
in an
Tiny
American plane, you would have been fine.
probably.
Airbus
So
is a French
flying
company.
into Geneva, it's
Exactly.
a big
America.
semicircle of mountains surrounding the town, which is in this beautiful valley. So coming in, it's like gorgeous, but you have to turn around those mountains as you're coming into the city, and it creates some crazy turbulence for a tiny little plane.
So you're banking off turbulent mountain air to begin with.
Yeah,
so it's
and
a rough
so then I got in,
flight.
and then the next morning, I had a 8-hour tattoo session, which was the first tattoo I ever got, which psychologically that didn't do anything to me, but like, you're in pain for 8 hours. It like
It's a
puts you in a
stressful
different
situation.
It puts you in a different place. And then I flew out the next day. Do not recommend. I ruined that shirt by bleeding the black ink onto it. And that flight also had a crazy amount of turbulence. And so I don't know whether it was that experience or the failed takeoff, but between there, like my body was like, this is hella scary. Like, we can't do this.
So
And then the next time I went to fly transatlantic, which I did probably every 2-3 months for
like
6 years.
4 or 5 times a year.
I hardcore panic attack. Like, probably the first like panic attack that I knew. Like, I probably had panic attacks forever, but the first one that I knew was happening because like I my pulse was at 200 plus. I was like cold but sweating buckets. I couldn't breathe, and this was for the entire 8-hour flight.
Oh God, really?
Oh yeah,
That happens to me
it
on the
was
Long
real
Island
bad.
Railroad sometimes.
That's
get it.
insane.
Yeah.
especially if you have to shit.
Because
Yeah.
like a 20-minute panic attack is insane.
Oh yeah,
Let alone
But it was
an
the full 8
panic
hours.
attack. Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
I mean, I bet you were kind of coming in and out of it, like it would just keep reoccurring.
No.
I don't know if the heart could beat like 200 for 8 hours.
Not yours.
Are you a
weak
doctor?
Dipshit. So here's some more terrifying plane
You
trivia for
piece
you.
of shit.
So I'm just going to keep peppering that in throughout the episode.
Is the episode over?
But I got over it. Benzodiazepines are great. Go see your therapist.
Yeah, we should wrap this up.
Everybody.
Yeah, now we can fly whenever we want.
Yeah, and now I'm
So,
pretty much over it. I can fly
like I was
without
saying,
taking
running
one.
at one
Like I was
hour.
saying before, people used to get like I would always imagine people would be nervous about the landing because the takeoff is scary because you're like, oh, is it going to happen? But it's the start of it. You're just hurry up and waiting until the actual takeoff. Then you're in the air. Then you might have turbulence. You might get airsick or whatever. And then the landing is the next big
It's the next
milestone.
event. Yeah.
It's the next event. And that's the scary one because you see the ground coming up. It jars you suddenly. There's all that dropping in between. Joe's just bailing there, I see.
Yeah, and you're just
Okay.
like, fuck, I'm back in Florida.
And then you still have to get to wherever you're going from the airport. And
Do you want me to finish his thought? So what he's saying is
she
that
keeps jumping in and
actually,
making me lose it. Actually, but
I thought that my
so what I was
quips
saying
were
is,
quippy and
go
wonderful.
ahead. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. You can't interrupt and then not. Jesus Christ. Okay, so it's actually the takeoff is way more dangerous than the landing because you're right. You're increasing. You're accelerating rather than decelerating, and you way down. You're at your heaviest because you have the most
disagree.
fuel, and what you're heaviest with is highly combustible. So if you
Yeah,
belly
yeah.
slide and start leaking fuel on the runway and sparks are flying,
You'll
that's
just go to
bad.
flames.
Whereas if
Yeah,
if
lemons
they
were
know
made out
they've-
of lemonade.
no,
I mean,
there's
come
been
on.
situations where they know that the landing gear's fucked and they might have to slide, so they'll circle and wait to run out of fuel. So they're lighter, they don't come in as
this?
hot, and they don't have
the
some.
JetBlue one that the wheel came down misoriented.
Yeah, that's
I didn't see that.
So
You
they
have
they did
evidence?
that, and it
Yeah.
also gives them time
Show-
to get emergency
show it.
crews. and
I'll link
stuff.
it.
No, you won't.
No, you won't.
You're not going to link dick.
Just tell him to screw himself and look it up himself. You're not going to link
You
it.
can link Dick. Are you? Oh, are we referring to the one listener? Is that what?
We've
Yeah,
already.
if they ask, we'll just
we've
message
already-
them. The
We've
link.
already.
Well,
we've
hold on.
already-
Are we using him as a gender neutral pronoun?
We can use whatever we want because we already advertised for American Airlines, Miller Lite, and Yingling. So
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
this
apparently
episode
our
is
sponsors.
also
I think
brought to you by
American
Yingling.
Airlines is super
Should we throw
classy.
kayak on there?
Yeah,
They got good deals.
Kayak.com.
All your
That and
travel needs.
Sky Miles?
From
What is it
walking,
called?
running,
Skyscanner.
flying, and kayaking. Go to kayak.com now and get to your destination.
Enter offer code
today.
Thunk at checkout for 20%
Go
off.
fuck yourself.
Have you guys talked about the worst airlines you've ever been on?
Spirit.
Spirit. Yeah. No, actually, Frontier was the worst.
Oh, Frontier's great.
I've
You just-
had some bad experiences on Southwest, but they tried to make
Okay.
games out of it.
Frontier just
I
doesn't
haven't
fly
been on
anywhere.
Southwest in a long time.
Frontier only
Yeah.
flies to certain places, and there are like 12-hour transfers. That's the problem with Frontier.
but their flights
Yeah,
are
but they're
20
so
bucks.
cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Spirit, their flights
It's
are
like a train
$20,
ticket.
and you're in a fucking paper airplane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it
'cause those
feels like it's
Frontier
made out of
flights-
mostly plastic. What?
Those $20 Frontier flights, they have to send the plane anyways. You know, so they're going to just be like shipping an empty plane. So like, you can jump on for $20.
They put a lot of cargo on most of those planes. Like,
Frontier's the most ill-efficient company I think I've ever dealt with.
I think that even if the flight was mostly empty, they still make money off of it because they're
I don't know
shipping
how.
so much.
I still think JetBlue's the worst, though.
But I
Really?
tried to
Yeah.
book a,
Have you been
a
on
flight through
Spirit?
Frontier,
I think
and
so.
they changed the flight. They were like, "Oh yeah, you ordered this ticket for Monday at noon. We changed it to Tuesday at 3." And I called them, and I was like, "Why am I calling you about this? Like, that's not the ticket I bought." And they said, "Okay, well, we can make it Tuesday at noon instead." And I said, "Yeah, no, I have to be at work. That's why I bought that ticket for that day. I'm not like I'm gonna."
They just moved you and
I
hoped
told
you'd
them
be
like
cool
I'm gonna
with it.
reject your charge on my card because that's not what I paid for. And they were like, "Oh wait, hold on." And they said, "All right, we refunded your money, and here's $100 voucher." And I said, "Great." And then I looked up flights, and it's like, yeah, they only fly to like 2 places. It turns out, you know.
Yeah,
No,
I flew to
JetBlue is
Atlanta for,
definitely the
$60
worst.
on Frontier.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
They
honestly
have some
thought
good
by
deals,
paying
but-
$60, I was like, I'm paying for my death. That's what's happening.
So
They're
I
checking
paid
less.
It was cheap,
Yeah.
but it was, and I didn't pay for the ticket. But someone bought me a ticket from New York to Oregon on JetBlue. Oregon. I flew out to you guys most recently on Delta, and that was a fine flight. They had all
Fine
these
flights,
movies
laddie.
on.
They had
They had all these
TV.
movies on demand.
All the tea.
It was, they also had the best airline food ever. They had all local stuff from places in Oregon. I guess the airport there like gets local vendors. So it's the
they
best airplane food. Like local cheese from this like big creamery around here, and like an organic brand like blueberry muffin with real blueberries in it. It was delightful. It's the first time I've gotten to my destination after eating the in-flight meal and not having like diarrhea. It was incredible. But on the way back, it was in a longer flight because of the slower airspeed. So it was 6.5 hours. It was closer to 7 with the delay.
Oh,
but
dude, why didn't you download the
7-hour
app?
flight. It was the same price for that Delta charged me to come out, and same price going back. And when I get there, they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't have a meal for you, but you could buy one if you want extra."
It's like $12.50.
It's like $15 for like a cheese plate. And then I tried to buy it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're out of that one." And
Oh,
they're like, "Yeah, we're out of
sorry.
that one." I was like, "What beer do you have?" And they're like, "I got Miller or Blue Moon left." And I was like, "Oh, what was the craft beer?" And he was like, "It was something good, I forget." And I was like, "He's like, yeah, but we're out of that." It's like just because I'm further in the back of the plane, I don't get a beer. I don't
I'm
get
on
a
my
meal.
magic throne in the sky. I got to take a diarrhea. I want more
They're
magic
charging.
beer. Go fuck yourself.
You're charging.
That's
Charging
one of my
$12
favorite
for a
cheese.
12
You've been
ounce.
a genie too
That's
long.
$1
You've lost
an ounce for
perspective.
beer. That's way
What?
too much for beer. It's
How much was
$1
it?
an ounce for beer. It's $12 for a 12-ounce beer.
You're on a
Oh,
That's way
plane
too
I'm
now.
in the
much.
sky like a
Well,
god.
yeah,
It's
Yeah, and I'm
$12.
uptight. Let me relax.
That's
Give me
my
a fucking
hourly
beer.
wage. It sucks. I want.
You
I
should
want
get a free
beer.
drink
I already
still, I
made it
think.
to the sky. Why isn't my beer free?
Why do we have to take off and land? Why can't we just get there?
I'm only allowed to take 3 shits because other people have to take shits.
I took a shit. It was rough, but it's the first time I've shit on a plane, I think, ever. It was bad.
I've never shat on a plane.
I think
That's got to be a lie. You've been
So-
over to Turkey so many times. You
I
didn't
don't
shit
think
the
I
entire
shit.
time.
My first trip to Turkey, I didn't even pee. I didn't get up.
Was that because you were still new in your relationship? You didn't want.
Who are you trying to
show
prove what
Yanka?
to?
I was just kind of scared. I was just like sitting in the corner, like I'm just gonna stay here.
What do you fly out over to Turkey?
Hey, Joey,
Turkish
you ever seen
Airlines.
a grown man naked?
I love Turkish
What?
Airlines.
Turkish-
What?
They're so good.
Yo, the foreign airlines are crazy amazing.
Yeah.
What is it like Air China that I flew over to Taiwan? It was beautiful. They had like these amazing like ornate napkins.
I like the
chicks
bowling
were
alley,
hot
yeah.
as shit. Like
Yeah,
you know,
the
the
chicks
chickies
are so hot
American
on other
so
airlines.
hot because
But
they're
that's
allowed
because-
to be sexist.
Fair enough.
That's because they're brought to you by Americans' ugly flight attendants.
Oh, that makes sense because only rich people can fly in other
Norwegian
countries.
Airlines. I flew that to London, man.
No, it's
That was
because
some
it's
hot stewardess
Norwegian-
action.
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
everybody can fly in America, and everybody as a population just go to the DMV and see how you feel about how attractive people are.
You know
Wait,
what's
have you
funny?
guys talked about airports or is this just planes?
Not airports yet. What do you got?
Well,
Fuck
Go ahead.
LaGuardia?
Go ahead.
Fuck
Well, yeah,
LaGuardia.
but so Johnny and
Why?
I have been to
mean, you're not
Schiphol in Amsterdam.
That's a
which,
cool airport.
Which is a cool ass airport, and it has a smoking room in Schiphol, like that. Like it's inside, so you can smoke year round, but it's got like paper mache trees, and like the roof has got like fake.
Yeah, Munich's
Did you smoke
talking
in
to
it?
the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
please.
Did you smoke in it?
Talking to the
I
microphone.
am.
Don't look.
This is not the. smoking?
No, but when I was in Munich, they had They had one that
You
was
guys are so married.
Married life.
because like I'm like talking to the microphone, and she turns and looks right at me and asks the same question, talking at me
And then
sideways
you give
into
the same
microphone.
answer, and then I laugh. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
But she was
That
also
works.
right. Like she's close
See
enough
how
to
that's
the
funny
mic
for me?
that it's picking it up, so she's all good.
Yeah.
I just can't hear anything, so I can never tell.
Right.
But
Yeah. You're really yelling at her about your lack of hearing.
right. She yells in my ears all the time. It's
That's why
mostly
he's deaf.
hers.
Right.
but my
Yeah. It's
hearing-
symbiotic, and it's still hilarious.
You're like,
for
this
me.
is softer than normal
Okay.
when we're doing the podcast version.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, at least the headphones at least have a limit. So they work as
I said
mufflers.
talking
But
to the mic.
no, in the München airport, which is
The
also
München.
beautiful. That's what they call it there.
I
It's
didn't
not
know.
Munich. It's München.
That's I'm learning.
Milchin.
It's Munich here, but they have a big glass room in the middle of the airport to smoke in, so you could see like in and out, I guess. But it's got Camel like cigarette branding all over it, and I lived in Winston at the time, Camel City, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Like
so it's just really weird. I was sending pictures. I was like, hey, check out this is the Camel Lounge. And like that's the kind of shit that's been illegal in America for a while. Those kinds of smoking lounges. So it's really weird. I went to Germany and saw my hometown
You
cigarette
didn't
company.
smoke in it?
No, I don't smoke anymore.
Yeah, but just for the experience. I don't.
Right?
smoke.
I mean, I walked in
I
and took a
smoke.
picture, and
I don't
I
smoke.
breathed deep. They were smoking a lot of European cigarettes. It smelled a lot better than American smokers.
Oh, you should have done it.
Man, you're breathing in all the smoke that was in the wet lungs of other humans.
Dude, you're so
Yeah, I guess,
weird.
don't think about
That's
that.
so
on a
true, but what
plane.
the fuck, man?
No,
You
he's
should've
right.
been a
I said
writer,
that. I said that the other episode
There's still
about
time.
gum
No,
on
it's
an elevator. Remember?
I'm 30 now, Karen. There's
Yeah,
no
it's a-
time. I'm
yeah.
done.
Yeah, Luke's done. He's joined our
I'm
club.
on the way down.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with my mother, who was telling me, "You're so young. You've got so much life ahead of you." And I was like,
true.
Oh,
"Yeah, my
God.
joints already hurt."
Yeah. Yeah, you're only like a third of the way there. That's plenty of
No,
time.
I already
left.
wake up in the morning. I'm like, how many more mornings until I don't have to do this anymore?
You mean life?
Yeah. That's my
Yeah.
thing.
Welcome to 30.
Yeah, I think that's 30.
You are
Mazel tov.
30. Welcome to 30 Club,
Yeah.
dude.
Hey.
Me and you
30,
right now.
30. Johnny will
Yeah.
welcome you soon.
Oh, Johnny's
Well,
still
I
a
won't
baby.
be. I won't be.
You just
I won't
wouldn't
be 30
get it,
by that
though.
point.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
You just don't get it.
Oh,
He's a spring chicken. Yeah. Have people have the followers seen pictures of you guys?
I
Do
don't
they know that
I
Johnny is
hope
the
not.
youngest? Because I would
On purpose,
imagine.
but I'm sure we.
No,
What do
people
they
that
think
find
we look
out.
like?
No,
I would
people,
imagine they would think
people
Johnny's
think that
the
I'm
oldest.
like 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Oh, people have told me
People
that
have-
who've listened
yeah.
to the podcast. They've said like it's come up before where they not only say that they're surprised that Johnny's not 50, but they're also surprised that he's married. They're like, wait, that dude's married?
And they're also
Very
surprised that
happily.
you're not the older brother.
Very
And then when I'm
happily.
like,
Talking to the microphone.
and then when I'm like, oh, he is married.
Stay
they're
off
like,
my lawn.
They're like, are you sure
God
he's
damn
not
it.
50?
Yeah, I brought the old battle axe on this episode.
That's just prejudice against baldness. I think.
Well, no, they don't see me. They're going based on my world weariness.
No, you sound
attitude.
bald.
Yes.
He does sound bald.
Yeah, I guess they do.
no,
You
I
got
think that a
that bald anger. You know, it's
Hold
like,
on.
oh, fuck
No,
you.
I
I
like
like to
that
think-
bold anger. It's that bald edge.
No, yeah, I think I have that like
an
I don't
edge.
give a fuck what you think attitude that tends to come with age. I've
Yeah.
just arrived there a little bit younger than most people.
Right, that makes
But
sense.
I
yeah.
mean, you guys are pretty much there. I think Joe will be there in another year or two.
well, how old are you?
I'm trying to keep a little innocence
enough.
left
20
in me for as long as it might
enough.
fester.
Fester is not the right word.
See, no, that's how you know it's
containing
fading.
innocence. Yeah, maintaining innocence. Well, it's still festering. You
No,
know?
I keep the innocence in like a furnace, protected. Like,
Yeah, that's also not the right words.
No, the fact that you called it festering means you figured out that it's not a natural state and that you know
Right.
it's not going to last. So that's good.
yeah, no,
What's-
I'm worried
Ooh.
that it takes more and more coffee every week
Kara, what does your shirt say?
for it.
It says, "What do we want? Evidence-based science. When do we want it? After peer review." It's one of her better shirts.
That's actually a
awesome.
great
Every now and then you wear it out, and someone will just put some nerdy look at
awesome.
personal point, be like, "Yeah, that's true."
because
That
it's
is
got a
when I want it."
subtext to that shirt, which is like, hey, also you can't make a slogan that's actually good if it rhymes and you can say it in 4 words. Like chances are you're saying nonsense.
Right, and also scientific press releases are bullshit where the news
Yeah.
is just sort of like, oh yeah,
How do you make a headline out of
farts
this
cure cancer. And
science
it's like,
paper?
Yep, nope, that's
You
not
know,
what the
like,
study was
yeah.
at all. Right? I'm teaching that this week, actually. That shirt would be
Yeah.
perfect. I wish I had it because I would totally wear it to class.
Yeah, this is a science household.
Yo, I'll get one for you.
Yeah, that's like a perfect shirt for what I'm teaching this week about peer review.
I have a
Just wear
job.
the shirt and then talk
Joe,
about
if you need any help with that, you know.
Can you come in as guest speaker?
Yeah, man.
You're from the East Side Symposium.
right?
West Side Symposium.
Oh, sorry, my
And
bad.
that has to do with
fuck, I'm
planes,
sorry.
and that if I was to do that, I would need to fly there.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about quantum mechanics since we're talking about planes.
Can
So
you just end this?
Yeah.
if we're on this plane, of
Should we go to a
existence-
drunk tank? Should we transition?
I think we should
We're
transition.
right at transition time.
I'm down. Yeah, let's wrap
Wait.
it up.
All right.
Is there
I have
anything we
one
didn't
more
get to?
question regarding
I had a couple
planes.
questions too.
Oh yeah, ask him.
No, ask him
I-
the drunk tank.
No,
Well-
just go.
Wait, he has a
Yes.
notepad.
Do you like movies about gladiators?
What?
If-
Is this the beginning of a bit?
You ever
Joe,
seen a
you ever-
grown man naked?
You ever been inside a Turkish prison?
You ever quack like a duck?
I just wrote down my two favorite lines from Airplane.
Oh, really?
That's
It's the best plane based movie. His drinking problem, every time they cut to it, he takes a glass of water, just throws it at his face and stares off like he's a drunk. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Or the pilot is clearly a pedophile. He keeps letting the kid into the cabin and he asks questions like that. You
Yeah.
ever seen a grown man naked? You like movies about gladiators? You hang around gymnasiums a lot? Like he just has all these really creepy lines that and he asks the
Gee, I
kid
don't know,
one.
mister.
Those
and then
were the days.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's in the cockpit, says, he's like, Clarence, you want me to check the weather? And he goes, I don't feel like it. You do it. And it just keeps going, so you ever been inside a Turkish prison? And he just keeps hitting on this child, and it's so inappropriate. But, yeah, so that's it. That's all I got.
Turkish.
I don't know, Ted.
All right, like, share, and subscribe.
I have two questions that relate to the actual podcast before the drunk tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
The first is, do you think that we will get to a point of solar or other energy drive planes? Because that's the reason that plane travel is so expensive is because of gas and because of the protections that they need to put in place. And then the second question is, I don't know how many of you read Man in the High Castle, but if you could have one of those planes went into the atmosphere, would you ride it?
Yeah, we talked about the SpaceX 30-minute
The
flights
answer,
to
yeah, the
Tokyo.
answer
Of course.
is no and yes. Those are the
I mean,
answers.
I would ride it to the extent that it passes the same safety test that current flying does.
So you're not driving the first smart car.
I don't know. I'm not a first kind of person. I certainly it depends on the activity, but for flying, if I'm flying somewhere for some other reason, the flying part, I just get very nervous about. Even though
So
I know
nervous
it's
that
not
you could never
logical.
join the Mile High Club? Or do you think could you get a boner on a plane?
If it was a
I'm
private
not
plane,
sure
yeah.
if I could, to be honest.
That's-
No, hold on.
That's why I'm
hold on.
asking.
Luke, if it was a private plane where you had the whole cabin area to yourself,
I'll
and you
figure it
and your
out.
fiance were there, you would. It's the idea that you're going to break the rules, and if they catch you, you go to prison, federal prison.
Well, it's
'Cause,
that
you know-
on top of the fact that my brain is just constantly aware that I'm in a tube traveling through. The
I don't know
air.
though, because I feel like it's like having sex on a bus versus a limo. You know, a bus, there might be other people coming and going. You're not allowed to. Whereas on the back of a limo, it's yeah, I know I'm on the highway going 60, but you can do whatever you want back there. I think if
Very
it's a private
telling.
plane, you could join the Mile High Club.
I'm pretty sure I
handle
could,
it,
and
but
I'm pretty sure I probably
you have a few drinks, you forget. You know,
I've
You forget
probably
you're in the
gotten a
sky.
sleep boner while on a plane. Who the fuck knows?
Johnny was just telling me about a sleep boner on a plane the other day.
Sometimes on planes when I'm really tired and sleepy, I'll get those, and it's very uncomfortable.
I mean, a sleep
and,
boner is
not
just
pleasant.
that. You can't control it. You're sleeping.
Body's kind of sleepy, and maybe it's hey, this will help you get to sleep because you can't sleep.
You
It doesn't
just gotta
know it's 'cause
hope
you.
that the angle it finds as it fills up and creeps up your pants is not the embarrassing one on a plane. If you're in
yeah,
sweatpants
that's why.
on a plane, you
that's
better
why I
hope
fly.
it finds a way to be parallel to your body instead of sticking
Oh,
up
I've-
90 degrees.
I've made that mistake, and
Don't
fucking
Heil. You guys
Hitler
can't see this,
boner.
but yeah, but Luke just Heiled him.
he did. Yeah, but I've made that mistake on flights, and that's why I only wear denim now. Old jeans.
Jeans are
Ooh, but
heavy
then the
enough
ass
to make
sweat.
that boner
They
not,
can contain
not,
it.
um,
They can contain the situation.
yeah, it
Wait,
hits
hold
its
on, though.
resistance.
From what I'm hearing, there's a business opportunity here. We need to make boxers that have a boner restraint.
No. Obviously, we're going to call it the cockpit, and it's going to be specifically for flying.
It's
Come
only
on.
for flying, yeah.
It's for when you get those awkward airline boners. It doesn't show, but it keeps your
Specifically.
stuff comfortable all the time.
All
while
right,
you're
Johnny,
flying.
give us
It's
the
going to be, hold on,
commercial for
wait.
that.
It's going to be $39.99 only sold at Dwayne
First
Reed
of all,
inside of
it's
airports.
gonna have a liquid cooled glycol temperature control, so you don't get that waffly swamp ass you can get from sitting on those weird fabric polyester airline
Oh, I hate
seats.
that. I
So
hate
it's-
airline swamp ass. That's the worst.
So it's climate controlled, but it also it contains your device. It's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled, which is great. It's smart.
Charger pad.
It charges. Yeah, you can charge it remotely. You can charge it off your earpods or whatever. It's whatever. It's one of those.
And it doesn't charge extra for leg
But
room.
if you do start getting a sleepy boner kicking in, you can have two settings. You can either have the containment one, which like just kind of covers it up, make sure it doesn't see, and then there's the annihilation one, where it just kind of drops the temperature of the chilling, and it kind of
jerks you off.
no. It annihilates it. It ices you out, so the temperature will drop slowly, like a degree every minute, until it shrivels the guy up and gets the situation, annihilated.
This is brilliant. Let's go make millions.
And it'll be called the cockpit.
We call it the cockpit.
Investors, like, share, and subscribe.
I'm down with that.
I have always wanted to open up a fried chicken restaurant in an old jumbo jet that you just, put up on like a giant beam that you see like the gas station price signs on.
Oh, yeah.
So have the plane up there and you take an elevator up and it'd just be all fried chicken with cockfights, and we would call it the cockpit.
Maybe get rid of the cockfighting, but
No, that's what you eat. You eat the chickens.
but
That's why we're in a plane.
Well, yeah, you don't want to eat a loser.
Yeah, it's a cockpit.
So you eat
fight.
the winners?
No, you eat the losers.
Yeah.
The winners get to
To
eat
each
the
his
losers.
own.
No, that's how it works.
Different business model.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's something there.
Wait. So, hold on. Having said this, I very seriously, if there are any open-minded pilots who have their commercial license, I have a business opportunity for you. Contact the Thunk Tank.
Oh, you mean like pilots are going to get boners too?
This is totally separate.
Oh.
But I actually have like a very serious business proposition for someone.
Separate from the boner
Cool.
thing?
Intertwined.
Intertwined with the boner.
It's connected. It's related. All right, I think we can wrap it up now.
Hey, you want to hang up on Joe since he's not here?
Yeah, I mean, we just did. He hasn't gotten to say
All right,
anything.
so the podcast is ending now. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Thunk Tank podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with people you think might like it. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. We have links to this in the episode description and other places. And for as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the lights on. And you also get access to a very special Drunk Tank feed of episodes. So every few episodes, we'll have a few more beers and record an extra 20 to 30 minutes of extra thunky, silly whateverness. So there's a separate RSS link you can get from there, and if you put that into a podcast player, you'll get your own separate feed of only the Drunk Tanks. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them out already, and more to come. Thanks for listening, and stay funky.